so let's wrap up, and so while we wait for Richard to come do the student evaluation, let me share a couple of thoughts with you, right? We'll get to the presentations in a minute. So I had mentioned that I'm thinking about doing 2 new hackathons, okay? I don't have any specific details yet, but let me tell you what I'm thinking and see who might want to participate. So when I was at the Nestle conference 2 weekends ago now, one of our teams was working with a woman that was hearing impaired, okay? And Apple was on that team, right? And the woman that was hearing impaired came up to me toward the end of the hackathon and said, you know, I could tell everybody was having a really awesome time, but you know, I just didn't get the full value out of it, right? And it wasn't that Apple and MARTA and AFAC weren't being helpful and generous, but you can imagine if you have been to one of my 3 hackathons, you can pretty quickly figure out just how fast-paced you have to be, how quickly ideas have to flow around the table, and if somebody can't keep up, it's almost impossible. And I visited their team. They had a wonderful little quiet space in the corner. I probably stopped by 4 or 5 times. And I could see this young woman increasingly less engaged each time I visited, increasingly more distant from the group. So she came up to me at the very end of the session and she said, you know, I want to be honest with you, it just wasn't that experience for me. And I said, you know, I would love to figure out a way to create a hackathon for the hearing impaired. And so that inspired me to think about doing exactly that. So it turns out I was in San Francisco last week having lunch with one of my former students, and I mentioned to her that I wanted to do this, and this is what I love about the world of innovation. She's from Russia. She knows a Russian scientist that is working on a device for the hearing impaired, and he's actually teaching at UC Berkeley, and he's partnered with Facebook, and he wants to try to commercialize this device, but he's not a business person. He's a Russian PhD. And so I'm very much looking forward to putting together a hackathon where I would partner with him. We would bring this device in, and we would set up a series of challenges around how to make this device work, but we would do it with people that are hearing impaired. We would create an environment, we would create an opportunity for the hearing impaired to be self-enabling, to help us understand their journey, to be partners with them, to coexist on teams with them, and coming up with ideas to make them able to be more included in activities like hackathons. Yes, Rob?
Was she like totally deaf? Or
no, she wasn't totally deaf, but she clearly, you know, even though she could speak, and Apple probably can speak more to it because she was on Apple's team.
Yeah, well, she basically read them up. So let's say so it was a little bit hard to kind of engage her. We kind of really tried to speak very clearly and stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing is that because it's so fast-paced, she ended up like not trying to really read us anymore. And usually you would actually stand, so she wouldn't really see she wouldn't see just your face, like your entire body. So it'd be really harder for her to read. But she wouldn't say anything. She didn't say anything until the very end.
Right.
And that was the problem, because if only she told us earlier,
Yeah.
then hey, you know, why don't you guys all slow down a little bit,
Yeah.
or why don't you come closer to me,
Yeah.
so that I can see your face?
Yeah.
We would have actually done so.
Yeah. So there's a level of self-consciousness, and it's not that different than Ashwin and Keem's discussion about women who have bulimia being amongst their peers and having a level of comfort, right? So for whatever reason, she probably didn't want to stand out, didn't want to be unique, did not volunteer, although you can tell when she spoke. She had very clear signs that she was a woman who was hearing impaired, right? So the bottom line is I was inspired to think about creating an opportunity to bring this community of people together. And, you know, so it's an idea that I'm working on. I just got introduced to this Russian scientist, and I'm going to try to do it here in Boston before you guys all rotate. So I'm going to look to some of you who have been to at least 2 of my hackathons before to join me as organizers. And I'm going to invite anybody who sees this as something that you would be interested in participating in to be participants in this process, okay? So this is something that I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to do between now and May when you all rotate, or when many of you rotate, okay? How many might be interested in an activity like that? Cool. All right? So that's the first one. Second one is one of our most recent customers at my current company, Reduxio, is a company called Life is Good. Does anybody know Life is Good? Who knows the Life is Good brand? Anybody? Yeah? Okay, what do you know about Life is Good?
LG is from Korea.
No, I'm sorry. This is a different LG. This is Life is Good, L-I-G. And so this Life is Good is a Boston company. It was founded by two twin brothers who are extremely optimistic, socially conscious young men, and their entire worldview is about optimism. Okay, so Life is Good is the logo on the brand. And they have retail stores all across the country. They sponsored some of my very, very favorite music festivals. They're very family friendly, very relaxed, but they bring world-class talent. So they're all about children's empowerment. Okay? Everything they do, all the profits that they generate in their social enterprise is about applying the surplus to issues around children's empowerment. So with my startup Reduxio, my proposal, and something we're in discussions about, is doing a hackathon around children's empowerment. Okay, where I would co-host it with the Life is Good brand here in Boston. Probably not at Holt, but probably actually in a larger venue, because I think there would be a lot of NGOs and other organizations that care about children's issues that would want to be a part of it. So this would probably be a bigger event, but it would also be something that I think could be fun. And I realize not all of you joined my hackathons for a variety of reasons, but I think you've now met many of our fellow students who have been to 2 or 3, and they know I speak the truth, right, Ms. Nessius, when I say it's transformative? It's transformative. So, I want to give you guys 1 or 2 more opportunities before I ride off into the sunset and start teaching in other campuses. A chance to take on a hackathon experience at least once. So who would find that experience interesting? All right, cool. All right, so you'll be hearing more from me on that, right? So as we wind down this part of our journey together, there's a few things I want to say. This is, I've been a professor for 20 years. It's mind-boggling to me that I've been doing this for 20 years, but this is my 20th year as a professor. And I think most of you know me well enough to know that I do this because I love it, right? You don't do this to get for money. This is not why you become a professor. I've taught a lot of classes. The last 7 years I've been at Holt. I teach roughly 1,000 Holt students a year, right? So you can imagine, I need a lot of, I've had 7,000 Holt students in 7 years, right? And I have to tell you, and I think you also know me by now, that I don't say what I don't mean. But I created this class from a clean sheet of paper. I was approached over the summer, would you like to create a new product development class, or would you like to teach the class? I looked at the syllabus from last year, and it just wasn't as real world as I thought a new product development class should be. And I see Kirsten shaking her head in the corner, right? Because Kirsten was a student in that class last year. So my intention has always been, in everything I've done, to bring the real world into the classroom. And I tried really hard to do it this year with you guys. And I want to tell you that I've taught many courses. I've had some amazing experiences as a teacher. I've enjoyed teaching this course with you specifically, this cohort, as much as anything I've ever enjoyed as a professor. And I say that from the absolute depths of my heart, the engagement that you have brought to this class, the commitment that you have brought to learning, the enthusiasm that many of you have demonstrated to me over the course of the last 8 or 9 weeks, the social impact that you focused on, the extraordinary learning on prototyping, right? I mean, when you met them 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, it was like, wow, the prototypes were amazing to me, guys. They were incredible. You guys really nailed it. So I will let you know that this is a very meaningful experience to me to have taught this course. I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of the work that you've done both in my classroom, but equally outside of my classroom. The hackathons, the OpenIDEO Hackathon, the Reduxio Hackathon, the Nestle Hackathon were all really fun. I really loved watching those of you who were lucky enough to be chosen to do the LEGO Serious Play, to see the childlike part of you come out. to see some of you who were so quiet all module long, and all of a sudden you started playing with Legos and just like you just opened up. It was just amazing. So I want to thank you all for the privilege of teaching you. Right? To me, that it's a two-way street. I teach at Holt not because it's the most prestigious university in the world. There's a number of them just across the street that we both know, or maybe a little bit more well-known. But I teach here for one reason, because of the community of students that Holt brings together. Okay? And so I want to thank you for the chance to share my knowledge with you, my experiences. And because for me, the only time it really matters is if I share something and a student's not really engaged, it can be very frustrating. But I could see a level of hunger in this class and a level of willingness to learn. That was very special to me. So I want to thank you all for that.